All right, hello and welcome everybody to the Storytime Network's very own Paradox Hour, now in a new time slot to try and avoid murdering our hosts. With us, as with our last episode, we have Jack,
Hello.
Mill,
Hi.
and
Ah.
our wonderful tech man, the Cyberman, Logstar.
Yeah, I haven't read these.
And I'm also here. As a duck
Fuzzy,
with a
everyone's
knife.
favorite murderous duck.
So last time we went quite a bit off the rails. But that was really just our own stupidity for,
We stayed on topic on the books, so that's better than usual.
Oh yeah. Could have gone a lot worse.
Yeah, it was more the issue of we were stupid enough to believe that we had the basic self-control necessary to budget our time properly.
AKA cover the whole series in 2 hours, which was, in hindsight, not
No, to
feasible
be fair,
at
we gave
all.
ourselves 3 hours.
True.
We did give ourselves half an hour per book, and
still
ended
never
up
believed
taking about almost an hour. We ended up taking about an hour for introductions and tech issues, and then an hour each for each book. The first
Something
two.
in that ballpark.
So, bear with us. This may be our second time through, but we're basically still scrubs.
Yep.
But with that, who wants to give a little summary of Codex Alera Book 3, Cursor's Fury? Not it.
Goes.
I'll do it, seeing as it is probably my favorite book of all time. So, we go again about 2 years into the future, after Academ's Fury, where Tavi is now a fully fledged cursor and is sent to join a legion, the first Aleran, which is made up of soldiers from all the different cities, which is a hivebed of espionage and incompetency. Meanwhile, Isana, Bernard, and Amara are all in a city called Ceres for a family reunion that Tavi misses. When good old misogynist Colaris starts his rebellion, he kidnaps two very important hostages to keep their High Lords out of the fight. And I'm going too long on this, aren't I? I should just...
No. It's like the context is important.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep going then. If we do this again next week, I'll prepare better. But so Colaris takes hostages, so Gaius sends Amara, Bernard, and of course, because we need some tension, Invidia and her Windwolves to go rescue them. Meanwhile, Isana is trying to save Fade, who was poisoned during Colaris' first attack. And because Colaris is a dum-dum, he made an alliance with the Karnim from the last book, who are now invading in a giant force, and the only thing standing between them and Alera is the first Aleran, who lost all of their officers in a huge assault by the Karnim, meaning Tavi is the only one left, and is having to lead this legion.
The best kind of leadership, default leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it hilarious that Tavi just winds up being the leader by default.
There's some context here that we'll get into later, but the reason is also hilarious.
We'll get into details later, but to sum it up, basically, Tavi manages to take advantage of a schism in the Karnim leadership and kills Saul, the rat bastard from the last book, which sends the Khanim running. Amara and Bernard manage to save the 2 hostages along with the daughter of Rook, who was the one who was playing Gaia last book, as well as managing to leave Invidia Aquitaine naked in a forest somewhere, because why not?
Oh yeah.
And Isana not only manages to save Fade, but she manages to convince him to retake the name Araris Valerian. And there are shipping undertones between the 2 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they want to bang.
Oh
Was
yeah,
it-
let's
Was
talk
it
about the
undertones
other.
or was it just tones?
No, they just outright want to bang. Pretty
No,
sure Faye just
It's
like
no
Araris
subtext.
says it outright.
You know, Araris outright says like, "Oh yeah, I wasn't in love with you all this time."
Mm.
But you know, bros, not a
Bros
bro.
will- Yeah.
Yeah.
All this
But
time.
yeah,
Let's avoid using
always.
the more misogynistic terminology.
All this time, always.
Mm.
We
Oh,
do
and-
gotta. We this does give us a good seg into the other good romance in the series, which
Mm.
is
Axe
Between
and
Zara and
punching
Araris.
walls. Oh, sorry, I thought we were going for different things. You gotta admit. Or Crassus and falling down objects.
oh god, poor Crassus.
Poor
And being
Crassus.
horribly injured in general.
Crassus he just gets such a rile every single book.
He is.
Let's just contextualize this mocking of Crassus. So Crassus is Max's little brother
Half brother.
and the half brother, an actual heir of Antyllus.
Oh yes,
he
Max
confronts
is
Tavi.
bastard.
He was born legitimately to
Okay, so
Antilar.
one thing we kind of that comes to the ahead in this series or in this book onwards that wasn't really addressed in the first 2, legitimacy and children born in versus out of wedlock is given immense importance in Alarian society.
Yeah, it's medieval.
It's only
society.
been alluded to just before this, but this is where it really starts becoming prominent.
Right. And as you could also guess, book 3 indicates a tone shift or genre shift from book 1 and 2. Book 1 being a more traditional high fantasy story, book 2 a more like urban spy thriller. Book
This one
3,
is
military, like a military.
I would say I would say it fully grows into being epic and or high fantasy.
No,
There's
I'm
a
not
book
saying I'm not denying that it's a high fantasy story, but I'm
but
saying
this
like
also blends elements of military thriller and spy thriller as well. And it integrates it better, I think.
it's more military opera. It's also a military opera at this point. And
When are we going to get Max busting out with the musical number?
I mean,
He does it at least once per book. Let's be real here.
the cover of the book has his singing moment. Honestly,
Yeah, no, that's him busting out with his solo.
so as Mill mentioned, one of the big moments of this book is Tavi becoming captain of the First Alera. So, to give context, Tavi is sent off to God knows where.
Tavi at this point is basically a gopher. He is technically an officer, but none of the other officers actually respect him, and none of the actual soldiers.
He's the
care that he
ensign
exists.
newbie. He's an ensign newbie.
He's third sub tribune logistica.
Yeah.
Which means
and he spent most of the book digging latrines.
Yes. So
Which is why he didn't get murdered with the rest of the officers, in fact.
Well, not all the rest of the officers. The captain just loses his leg.
Well,
and his arm, and most of his face.
Wasn't he fighting Crassus?
No, it was Crassus. It was Crassus, but it's funnier
Crassus.
if you say it was because of the latrines.
Well, I mean, that's partially true, actually. Because he was going to he had been in the baths, and then got confronted by Crassus.
Yep. Oh, because Tavi stole something from Crassus's mother, who is actually the one
Okay, yeah,
who
you know what? I
arranged
think we're
this.
getting a bit off track. We should probably start getting into the book in earnest.
Yeah.
Or continue the summary. So basically, long story short, he's put in during a full-scale invasion. The little fearless boy who could becomes captain of a legion, which is the only thing stopping a full-scale invasion of the furries.
Put it this way, a legion, he has 6,000 men under his command. The Ikanim have 60,000.
And also, his 6,000 are almost entirely fresh and raw recruits. He is a captain of them, and he has almost no military experience, no leadership experience. The most competent people are his best friend Maximus, and essentially, like, platoon leader. Those are the two most competent people militarily wise.
Oh yes, let's talk about Valyar Marcus.
So yeah, so you know how so there's a very important
We get a bunch of new characters. We get Magnus and Marcus.
so no,
So,
there's a very important
Magnus-
line in the right at the start of the book
that Magnus says, which is, anyone competent and friendly is a spy.
No.
No?
Everyone here is either incompetent or a spy, or yes, but anyone who's competent and friendly is definitely a spy.
And
so,
spoiler alert for the end of the book, it turns out that he is actually Fidelius.
Yeah, Valyar Marcus is Fidelius. Spoilers.
It has been for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, it's an old identity of
Indian.
his, yeah.
Valyar Marcus is essentially the recipient of the Medal of Honor. So
House of
Fidelius,
the
Fidelius, as a cover story, has one of the highest awards in Alerian society.
Yep. Which is just another way to add depth to this absolutely insanely competent person.
Especially because the thing that he got, that wasn't Valyar Marcus, or not entirely at least. That was just Fidelius not wanting to leave people to die.
Yeah. I do love how much all this fleshes Fidelius out as a character even more, though.
Kind of contributes. I'm gonna be real. The fact that Fidelius as a character is more fleshed out than Amara is kind of one of the things that contributes to my dislike of Amara.
Oh yeah, we should talk about Amara's storyline in this, because I think this is one of the better Amara storylines in the series.
Yeah, but it ends with like her getting rescued by her big strong man, and it's just like
No, it doesn't.
Not really. No, she just creates an opening for him, and he takes the opening.
No, I meant the massage.
That's a different book.
It's not a different book, but that's not like saving her. What? That doesn't make any sense.
Look, I can expand on my issues later on. I have difficulties comprehending a relationship that started with what is essentially a roofie. Anyway, we keep
moving.
This
moving
is our
on
problem.
From last week's topics.
This is our problem, is we don't know how to summarize. Because yeah.
Okay, let's try and structure this a little bit. We'll go story by story. So probably the shortest story I would say is Isana's and Fade / Araris's.
Yes. Oh, we're also introduced to another character in this storyline, High Lord Sirius's daughter, Veratus.
And also just High Lord Sirius in general.
Oh yeah,
I mean, we will get
love
to
that
him
family.
in Amara and Bernard's bit, but yeah, no, there's something that he does that is really badass. So
no, that's
Asana and Araris
later. That's much later.
Oh, I mean, he does that.
No.
he does
book.
something
There's a
very
badass
quite
moment in this
badass.
book.
This
Right.
one, yeah.
Anyway, so Asana and Araris basically,
Araris
As
takes a
part-
dagger for her.
well, an arrow.
Catches it through his palm, and it turns out it was poisoned.
Mm.
Also,
After
the
cutting-
name of the
by the way-
poison is it's just a really gross poison. Rancid Garrick
Rancid
oil.
Garrick oil, yeah.
It's what happens when you let the skin secretion from a swamp lizard just sit outside for a while and go bad. And that just is such a visceral picture. I can almost smell it.
Yeah.
Anyway, the issue is that
Doesn't
Araris
wanna-
has been in a big depression spiral for the last sort of 20 years.
Yeah, poor guy.
And part
Yeah.
of the reason he's having trouble recovering is because the recovery process requires him to actually have a will to live.
Mm.
Which he hasn't had since his best friend died.
Yep.
And I think this is the first time that we actually get like
I mean,
full-on
let's just-
confirmation
let's
rather
just-
than this is
Can
the
we
first time we
just,
get full-on confirmation instead of just sort of, ooh, this is what we know. This is, I'm fairly sure, the first time we get confirmation that Tavi is Gaius
Gaius son.
He's
Septimus'
the
son.
prince. Yes, he is the prince.
Yes.
So, can we just like really highlight Araris' situation? He 20 years ago, his best friend died while he died in battle, surrounded by all of his other friends,
Mm,
while he had to run away and help
mm.
woman he loved give birth to his best friend's child.
And the sister of the woman he loved.
Who died?
Oh yeah, the sister died.
Also died because he was a bit too slow to stop an arrow.
Yep.
And
Also,
to be fair, she lied about the wound.
true. That's not entirely on him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he still blames himself, and that's really the important thing, isn't it?
I mean, that's
Yep.
the thing. He to sort of blend into the background, he gave himself basically the coward's brand on his cheek, and he very much feels, instead of that being a disguise, he very much feels like he earned that.
Yeah.
Because despite him being basically ordered to protect Asana and leave with Asana, he still feels like he abandoned Septimus.
To be fair, he does feel like he's the he took away what three of Septimus's swords with him.
Two,
All,
yes.
Well, him, Aldrich,
Well,
and Miles.
yes, including him, three, because he pushed Miles in front of the wagon, meaning Miles wasn't there, and he dueled Aldrich into leaving the Singulares.
For good
are
reason,
the
might
honor
I
guard.
add. What Aldrich was doing was kind of like not okay.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a different book. I'm fairly sure.
Yes, I don't know. I have my opinions about that, but yes, and
I think we'll get to that next episode.
Should.
I think it's in 5 and 6.
it's in
Yeah, I
5
think
cents,
so.
yeah. But also,
Anyway.
Araris is dealing with some shit, but we also
yeah.
get
He's still-
the
Some hardcore survivor's guilt.
oh for sure, and we also get a really good glimpse into the actual level of power that Asana has.
Yep.
Because so the other thing is that garlic oil, especially rancid garlic oil, is supposed to be essentially cyanide, right? In
Yeah.
It's like a
Alera.
combination of cyanide, mercury poisoning, and blood poisoning.
It's
Well, I
supposed to
mean-
be this like super potent poison, basically.
It's essentially the poison to end all poisons, and it takes the daughter of a High Lord. Mind you, High Lords and their families are some of the most powerful people on Alera. And the daughter of a High Lord, his prime heir, is like, this man is beyond my ability to save. And Asana says,
She's also not only the daughter of a High Lord, she's noted to be one of the best healers.
in
Period.
the country.
In
I mean,
Alera.
to be
She's a
fair,
healing specialist.
she was not saying it because she didn't think that she could do it, and more that she didn't have the time because she was too busy, helping her father's city be defended against Kalaris.
Right, but I think like it would. But I do think like
Oh, I mean,
The way-
and certainly there was a point where she said, "Look, just give up. This is not going to work." But
Like,
yeah,
I think like if it was anyone but Asana, it wouldn't have worked. And also, Araris was probably too far gone, even early on.
yeah.
And like we get the really first we get like a glimpse of it when Asana does the my river
Flooded the
bitch.
river, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
My river.
I love that scene.
It was
That was
great.
great. I think we failed to talk about how awesome Isana is as a character.
Oh, Asana's
That's
great.
what-
It's a shame she gets damseled a bunch, but
Not really
To be
much of
fair,
a
a lot
fighter.
of the times that she gets damseled, she gets herself out of it.
Yeah.
We'll get into that, especially in book 6. Like there is
oh
a
god.
glorious bit about Asana in book 6, but yeah.
I mean, she does lampshade it in book 4.
Yeah.
But like Asana, we get a glimpse of just the raw power Asana has, and also the first glimpse of maybe why Tommy is the way he is.
Yeah, so that's gonna be a point of contention later, I'm sure. Like, there's gonna be a scene in book 5 or 4. Was it 4 or 5?
5.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
No, it was 4. It was 4.
Okay. But yeah, like there's a lot happening, right?
Oh yeah.
With Asana.
Well, while this, I think, so basically the end of this sort of little bit is that Isana does convince Araris to live. While she is, so what she has to do to get through to him and actually be able to talk to him, because at this point he's out of his mind on rancid Garrick oil. She actually crafts him in her sleep, and so touches his dream, which pretty fucking awesome on her part again, and convinces him to live and not just give up. But obviously, while this is,
I'm tempted to post a meme about living, so
I mean, she hands him his sword, which is to Araris like, "Hey, motherfucker, you're not done yet." Essentially, the point of her message to him, right?
Yeah, basically.
But also, while this is happening, obviously they're still situated in Ceres, which is undergoing a siege from Kalaris, and every so often you get bits and pieces, and so it's Ceres' legions plus the Crown Legion led by Sir Miles from the last book.
Who is Araris' brother, mind you?
Yeah, and he does come and visit Araris at one point, and it is very, very sad.
Yeah,
it's very bittersweet. It's also like the last time they interact as a pair, I think.
Certainly on page. Yeah.
So Butcher kind of rushed these books. They're a lot less fleshed out than they could have been, and as a result, a lot of like important character moments kind of got lost in the sauce.
Unfortunately,
I'm fairly sure I said this last week. That's my one big criticism for this series, is that it's rushed in places.
It's pacing it insanely fast.
Which is weird, because I would say the first sort of third to a half of this book is actually quite sort of slow.
It takes a while to get the plot
that happens, and then it just absolutely ramps up in the second half, and everything happens.
Like the minute Katai shows up at the military camp, and we get
Okay, so I think we should probably give up on doing a summary at this point and just go from the beginning, like in detail.
Well, no. We've covered Isana and Araris' storyline. Now we can move over to Bernard and Amara's.
Yes. So this is
so.
The storyline does have a couple of the moments where we talked about how an illustration of Butcher's usual theme of tiny little mortals punching out gods.
So just before that, I just want to state at the start of this. So Bernard and Amara, well, certainly Bernard is in series to give basically talks warning about the Vord. Except he isn't believed by a slimy snake of a politician called Senator Arnos.
Oh yeah,
who keeps calling Daroga a liar, which basically prompts Bernard to go, Senator, you will stop calling my friend a liar, or I will challenge you to Juris Macto and rip that forked tongue out of your head.
It was a very good moment and deserving.
Yes.
The other thing is, like, Arnos is every conservative voice.
He's every reactionary politician who just does not care about the actual issues he pretends to support. He's just in it for his own money and power, for the most part.
But we will get into him next book, very very much so, and get into his deal.
Yes.
But I just wanted to make mention of that because it's just such a awesome moment, and just
it's very satisfying.
The other it was Bernard is good in that scene.
That's the rest of the storyline.
I think we can now talk about what Sirius's badass moment was in this book, other than, holding Kalaris outside his city with...
For how long?
A month and a half or something like that. I'm fairly sure.
It's basically him and Miles repeatedly dueling Kalaris and his son.
And that's the thing, Sirius only has, I think maybe... I would say 2.5 legions, because I think he has the Civic Legion, but it's not like an actual military thing. It's more the police. But compare that to Kalaris' 3 legions.
Runs a secret underground abolitionist campaign as well, in which he finances people who ambush slavers and then lynch them.
Oh, that was such a nice reveal. I love that.
Oh yeah, Sirius does that, right?
Yeah.
That's
great.
But the badass moment that I want to mention, so just prior to this moment, Amara had been talking about Sirius. So, all of the High Lords and obviously Gaius all look younger than they actually are because of their watercrafting. Sirius is an old man and actually looks like an old man. So it's theorized that he's, weak in terms of watercrafting.
So, to give context to this moment, the High Lords are all having a conference. So you have Gaius, you have
Gaius, Ceres, Attica, and Placida.
And Aquitaine.
Yes.
Well, Invidia is there in person.
Well, Addis is there through watercrafting.
No, he's not. He's not, actually.
Isn't? I thought he was present.
No, it's just Gaius, Attica, and Placida who are there via watercrafting. And basically, Kalaris interrupts via his own watercrafting, cuts off Gaius's, which is seen as this massive show of power, and then tries to get Ceres to give up his city and threatens Ceres' children and grandchildren in doing so. And Ceres, who, as I said before, had been noted as maybe not being the best at watercrafting, cut off Kalaris the same way Kalaris did Gaius, and basically went, if you're here to help, good. If you're not, get the crows out of my way. I have a city to defend, and just storms off.
He basically just hardcore hangs up on him with magic, and it's great.
And keep in mind, it's the power ranking of the High Lords at this stage is Gaius at the top, Kalaris and Addis Aquitanus just below him, and then Placida and Attila below them, and Placida and the others are like around there. Ceres is at the bottom in terms of the perceived power levels.
Well, just because he's an old man and actually looks like an old man.
The second strongest man in the world. It's yeah, for sure. It's definitely one of those like. It was definitely one of those moments where you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah,
it's great.
And it also, I mean, just one more thing is like it shows thematically, like the whole nature of the story is waking up the sleep. Like one of the aside from out with the old in with the new, the other big story is waking up sleeping lions.
Mm-hmm.
Where and like Ceres at this point has also been a very peaceful High Lord. He doesn't play the political game. He doesn't like contest with his neighbors. He's just kind of there. And like it's like Gaius makes mention that like, hey, you used to be my old war buddy. What happened to that man? And Ceres is like, I'm a grandfather now. I want to live my fucking life. But the fact that he's now under siege, it's waking up a sleeping lion, just like how we get in the Tavi story, we get the waking up the sleeping lion. It's all
literally
about,
with the cover of the book.
I mean, to be fair, yes, but also just like characters who had been stuck in ruts, characters who had been stuck in place, get pushed into, are forced to nut up or shut up.
Basically.
And it's a very important message. Like, yeah, you can do what you can say what you want, but there are times where you just got to do what you got to do, and stand up to like what you think. Like, stand up to an aggressor, no matter what, even in the face of overwhelming odds.
So let's get into the meat of Bernard and Amara's storyline. So as I said,
actually not a lot that happens in the storyline.
It's a very powerful moment.
Most of the book is focused on Tavi's storyline, with bits
for very good reason. But yes, we will get
media
to that
storyline. But
but yeah, so
Bernard and Amara's storyline has them infiltrate Calare to free the hostages.
Oh, we lost again.
Oops.
We'll keep talking. Oh, he's back.
They infiltrate Calare with Invidia, Aldrich, and
Odiana,
and Rook in order to free the hostages that Calaris took.
So just to explain, I know I said it during the summary, but just to explain more depth, Rook is the spy that Calare put into the academy and was playing the role of Gael last book. And she is, I'm fairly sure, basically Calare's chief spy.
Yes. And we find out more about why she is as loyal as she is in this book. And it's very fucked up. Might as well just talk about it since it's part of the storyline.
Put it bluntly, it's a kid. It's Rook's kid who is in the room right next to Calare. I think you can see.
And it's implied
that he's her that he is the father. Like Calare Senior is the grandfather of this child.
And
but what's interesting,
child hostage for Rook's good behavior.
What's interesting is that it's not really implied until later books. Right? The identity of the child's father isn't really implied or touched upon at all until much later, and like it kind of comes out of left field. I'm gonna be real,
but it makes sense in hindsight.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
Yes, and the other thing is like it's also a sense of like it also demonstrates just how fucked up the Kalari family is.
Oh yeah, no, they're like the most depraved of the main clans.
Like one of the other thing is like the story makes a mention of that like of how rich and like almost idyllic Kalari's region of Alera is. Like there's
it makes note of
in terms of resource wealth, right? Like it's easy farmland, easy access to wood and lumber and other major resources for them.
Unfortunately, all of its wealth is built on the backs of slave labor.
Yes.
Kalari is the main slaver in terms of like the cities.
So yeah, no, Kalare is a really, really monstrous character. Even like he is probably the most. He's in strong contention for the most vile character in the series. But
I mean, what's it? His main competitor is Nvidia, Cord, his son, and Sarl.
yeah, Sarl does not feel like he belongs in that league because he does not display nearly that level of just sheer depravity.
He's minor league, like he is in every other category.
Yep. Yeah. No, this storyline in particular also has so Bernard and Amara and co infiltrate. They sneak into the castle by disguising the ladies as slaves and the men as their
unit
escort
bodyguards.
Yes, and so they infiltrate the castle easily that way because the guards are idiots, or rather, no, they're not idiots. They're just brainwashed slave children who don't really have a mind of their own to think.
That's the other thing that Kalaris did. He makes troops by basically raising them with these slave collars that were mentioned in the first book, so that they basically don't feel pain.
Yeah, no, their minds are so thoroughly broken by the time they're old enough to actually fight that they're just completely fucking insane.
It's really hard to talk about these books sometimes. If honestly, these books desperately need a content warning.
Oh, absolutely. Good God. I know Jim Butcher can put in some brutal stuff, but my God, these books are just they do not hold back. Yeah. No, so they infiltrate, they free the hostages, but they're put in a pretty tricky situation in getting out because as they're freeing the hostages, that's when Kalaris decides to come back home and pay a visit. So it leads to a crazy chase scene where the two high ladies in the heroes party are basically doing their damnedest to hold off Kalaris, while he and several of his knights are chasing the escaping party.
I think it was something like 20 knights.
Yeah, it was 20 knights versus the 5 flyers that the heroes party have. The 4 holding up the carriage plus Amara. Yeah. And Amara is basically stuck running interference.
The guys holding the carriage couldn't even fight. They're just trying to get that fucking carriage out of there as fast as possible.
They have the massive number of people they have in the carriage.
Also, we should mention, so the hostages that Kalari has are Lady Placida Arya, Arya Placidus, how you want to say it, Lady Arya from book 2, and Gaius's wife's sister.
Which Attica makes a very good and depressing point, is that he says he's already lost one daughter because of Gaius, he's not losing another.
He already has, essentially he has one daughter hostage by Gaius, another by Calare. There's no difference to him.
To be fair, it did come back to bite both of them in the butt. Calare and Gaius. In different ways, but
Oh, for
Gaius's
sure.
way we'll have to talk about in when we cover book 5.
6, actually.
I'm pretty sure
Calare-
talk
no,
about
book
in
5.
book 5.
Book 5.
It's book 5.
Oh, book 5 is Calare? Oh, right.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's book 5, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
But anyway, so they are getting away. Amara has done her best against these Night Aries, but eventually
Fighting
she is
20
just
to
left.
1.
Yeah, and she does brilliantly because she takes out I think pretty much all of them except for Calaris himself.
She takes out all but like a handful of them. Bernard runs some interference with his archery, but she takes out the majority of them on her own.
So,
And Aldrich is no fucking help. He just gets stabbed in the leg and breaks.
to be fair,
the
he's also useless in an air fight. To be fair.
Yeah, but I just want to shit talk him a little bit.
Yeah, no, he deserves
Valid.
But like, it's like essentially, I mean, we've gotten hints of it, but like, Amara's the best windcrafter in the goddamn country.
Oh yeah, no question.
She's the most skilled. She's not the strongest.
The most skilled. Yeah, she doesn't really have the. Well, no, it's that Amara is hyper specialized.
I mean,
that's what I was about to say. She's the most skilled because the High Lords who are more powerful than her have to split their focus.
Yeah, she's like Isana is a water specialist. Amara is a wind specialist, and she's damn good at it.
Well, yeah, well, though she focuses like basically entirely. In the next book, we get a little glimpse, but she focuses in this book and let me phrase.
It's a fragile speedster.
She starts out focusing entirely on the physical enhancement aspect of windcrafting,
which is
and she is probably one of the, if not the best at it, one of the best at it.
Yeah, no, she's crazy fast.
She's very fast, and she's very good at flying. Though her she can't do the weather manipulation, though.
I think she can. She just never really gets an opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
I think
she
it's very
mostly
much
flies and uses super speed.
Also, she can't do the lightning. She doesn't have the raw power necessary for lightning.
No.
But anyway, so Amara has taken out the Knights Ares. Bernard at this point has gotten on top of the wind coach and he's shooting people down.
He is down to like, I think he's down to like one or two arrows.
It's last arrow. It's last arrow. He shoots Calaris, who obviously, being a master metal crafter, deflects it. Unfortunately for Calaris, it's not just a simple arrow. It is a salt arrow that Tavi gave Bernard the idea for. And the salt tears through Calaris' wind furies and sends him crashing into the forest below, which, as is going back to what we've been saying before, mortals taking down gods.
Yeah, this is right after Amara basically gets him to drop his guard by sneak attacking him and his remaining 2 Wind Knights. And so he doesn't notice the salt in the arrow because he's too distracted by that. And
he's pissed off and tired.
Yeah, he's pissed off, he's tired, and he's distracted, which is not a good combo for decision making.
Especially not when you're like 60 feet up going, ridiculous speeds.
So he plummets to the forest below and suffers the logical consequences of a fall at such heights and speeds.
Well, we learn next book that he is crippled, basically, and he's bedbound.
But yeah, it's
as a result of it.
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't feel sorry for him, and no one does.
But the real finale of this storyline is that when they stop, Nvidia tries to pull the old double cross by having Odiana watercrafted to look like Nvidia watercrafted to look like Odiana, and tries to kill Amara. Unfortunately, Amara has seen this coming and has triple-crossed her with
By having
who is
Rook
a-
and Placidus switch places.
Placidus switch places, yeah. And as a result of having that power, Amara leaves her naked in the forest.
Up naked
Not,
in the
not
forest.
because it would slow them down, but because it was funny.
And also because NVIDIA deserved it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's the second storyline. So the third one, the meatiest one, as we said, is Tavi. And Max in the military.
Let's talk about Crassus because we talked about him earlier.
So,
and
this introduces Crassus and his mother.
Join the Legion.
Crassus is the younger son of Lord Antylus's legitimate wife.
Hmm.
Who is also Calaris's sister.
Yeah, it really does run in the family with them.
Yep.
But basically what happens is that he has them he keeps Max and Max's mother around until Max is around 5 because he loves Max's mother like actually, as opposed to just a political marriage with Crassus's mom, and then Max's mother is killed by
Dorothea.
Crassus's mother.
Dorothea.
Yeah,
who is apparently the spitting image of Calaris Brensis Minoris, which, real fun resemblance there. So basically,
is Brensis a Bishi or is she just androgynous?
I'm pretty sure.
Column A, little column B, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of those two.
Anyway, so they are in the Legion. Certainly Dorothea is in the Legion because she is working with her brother and is there to basically betray Alera for the Khanim. Crassus has no idea about this. He's just, he's not the brightest. Yeah, he's a mama's boy and he's not the brightest.
Somehow dumber than Max.
Yes. See, Max has greater wisdom than Crassus. Crassus used wisdom as his dump stab, unfortunately, so he's stuck with intelligence.
Crassus doesn't have no, he's got a decent amount of int.
Yeah, he's got int, but he doesn't have a lot of whiz.
Meanwhile, we need to speed this up a little bit because we are still running out of time. But
anyways, Tavi survives the attack on all the captains because he pickpocketed.
Dorothea. We can go into a little bit of detail for that. So basically, they are sent to march, and the way the legions march is they use Furycraft, which obviously Tavi doesn't have. So what he does,
Dorothea has been suspecting this the whole time. By the way, that
Dorothea is suspicious of Tavi.
I don't know. Tavi is looking kind of sus.
Yeah, so Tavi tries to get Max to break his leg so that he doesn't have to march. Max refuses, so Tavi does it himself. Upon which point, Valia Marcus walks in. And Valia Marcus, who, as I said, is Fidelis, and so will know who Tavi is, listens to their story of, the horse spooked and the wagon wheel ran over my leg, breaking
it. Horse, which is
just
currently snoring.
Yeah, they look at the horse and it's just asleep and it lets out a snore. Tavi's narration even goes, Tavi didn't know that they could do that. And they've just left the hammer just lying there as well. And so he just picks it up and just goes, spooked horse, huh? I'll let the teamster know about this nervous horse. Take this back to the blacksmith, Maximus. Just walks off, and it's just like, and Max is just like, "Do you think he bought it? Shut up, Max."
Oh God!
But just even better after that is so Tavi has been healed, but part of the Carnum's attack is that they use their blood magic again, and they've created this cloud of eldritch abominations, which injures 2 of the First Alerans Knight Ares. And after they've been seen to, Dorothea's like tries to basically get Tavi to leave the medical wagon because she doesn't believe him at all. For good reason.
Rightfully so. She's also
Yeah.
also the worst, but she's right.
Yeah, no, it's
But
like
in
the
doing
onion
so,
headline.
yeah. But in doing so, Dorothea like tries to force Tavi's weight onto his bad leg, which causes him to stumble into her. And it is revealed that he cut her purse strings and stole her purse, which allows him to bribe Foss, who is the 7-foot bear of a healer, and Valiar Marcus.
Yep.
I love Foss, by the way. Like, he is one of my favorite minor characters, just because he is this big bear of a northern man. He is 7 foot tall.
And he's the healer of the.
And he's the healer, yeah. And
also,
for other reasons,
his reason for joining the First Aleran, though, is that he served on
he
the
had
wall.
wives in different city, yeah.
Yeah, and they found out about each other, and it's just like, I wish that wasn't the joke.
Mm.
It's kind of a dick
Anyway.
move.
Mm.
At the same time, he's hilarious, so we forgive him.
Mm. Anyway, so Crassus comes looking for this purse that Tavi stole, who, by the way, has found this very familiar-looking blood-red gem in the purse. Tries to beat up Tavi, but Tavi, going back to his performance last book, beats the shit out of Crassus.
Yeah, no. Every time Tavi goes up against like a crafter hand to hand, he kicks their ass.
Well, this is going into the next book, but like, I'll talk about it next book because it is just a hilarious line.
Tavi just doesn't fight fair either. He doesn't fight fair.
No, and that is another like theme of the book. Fair fights are a bad fight to get into, mostly because the people you are fighting are like these superhumans.
I love Jim Butcher, but he has. What should I say?
Yes.
He has patterns in his writing.
Yeah, no fair fights is a theme in all of his books.
Yep.
I mean, to be fair, it's not that different. It's not uncommon either.
Oh no, it's not at all. But I just realized we need to backtrack a little. So Aaron, who is, fully fledged cursor of his own as well, has been sent out to basically this little island between the western coast of Alera and the eastern coast of the Carnum homeland. And he gets the first row view of the Carnum war fleet coming in and manages to get away on a vessel captained by a guy named Deimos, who I've always pictured as Captain Barbarossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. Just in sort of appearance.
He always struck me as a more more old Clint Eastwood sort of type.
I was thinking old Han. I always imagined it was like very old Han Solo.
No,
I mean, any one of those could work. Any of those could work.
Basically, he's a mercenary for hire on the seas.
He's a pirate for hire.
Yeah, and he manages to get Aaron back before the Carnum land. Aaron warns the First Aleran, which, sets all the bells off, and that is when the officers who were meeting to discuss a strategy get hit by a literal wall of lightning.
Blood lightning.
One might even say lightning.
So suddenly Tavi is in charge of the Legion, which is a huge "oh god, no" moment for them, for everyone involved, really.
It's very Minkus.
Yes.
Yes,
But
Mills,
there's
this is the context in which you would use Minkus.
But there's another, like, again, there's a lot of cool moments in this book, but there's another one when Tavi realizes he has to convince Valiar Marcus that he can lead the Legion. And in doing so, Marcus gets this, oh, Jesus Christ look in his face, which we eventually find out is because Fidelius recognizes him as, a son of Gaius, and is suddenly like, oh, this is why I'm
all
here.
coming together.
Oh, boy.
It's Fidelius going, oh, I fucked up. I fucked up.
Yeah, basically, this is the point where Fidelius realizes that, oh, Gaius had a plan. Oh, no.
I done goofed. I done
Yeah.
No,
goofed.
because Fidelius's whole thing is that Gaius was dying and letting the country fall to ruin, and he didn't want that, so he betrayed Gaius because he thought Aquitaine would do better. And then he realized Gaius kind of knew what he was doing, or at least
Gaius
suspected.
has plans. Gaius has plans upon plans upon plans. He is very much the chess master, and I will get into this in book 5. But I think he is probably the best example of a chess master I've seen written personally.
He's 4D chess, still stuck on 2D chess.
I mean, to be fair, we did just three out of 5 of us did just read Wintersteel.
Yes, but we will get into that in another, I'm sure, series of videos. There's no way we get through all 8 in one podcast.
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Yeah, no. I'm not even gonna pretend we're gonna be able to pull that one off.
Anyway, so Tavi takes control of the legions and does really well, except when he comes up against the leader of the Karnim warrior caste, Nasorg, who is pretty fucking amazing. Let's be real. We'll get into him in more detail in later books, but he is so Tavi makes this plan of basically heating the cobblestones in the town so that the Karnim are forced into the buildings, which he then plans to set on fire and try and take out some of the Karnim warrior caste who are ridiculously good soldiers. But Nasorg sees right through it and sends in basically his conscripts first to take the brunt of the damage.
Basically, the Karnim come in 2 flavors. Well, no, technically 3 flavors. Nameless grunts, freaking awesome, or absolutely reprehensible.
But let's just be very clear. Tavi beats Nasorg at Roman chess. Which in part
3D Roman chess, by the way.
Which in part is because he's been playing it with Varg in the prison for a year and a half or so.
2 years, at least 3 times a week for 2 years.
Well, yeah, we'll get into that in book 4. But Nasorg is Varg's son, which he explains why he's such a badass. But literally, his entrance into the city is he storms through the gates and just murders 3 legionaries in about 5 seconds, if that.
Yep.
Nasorg just doesn't get touched this entire book in terms of actual combat. But Nasorg is obviously not the only Karnim leader. Sal is also there, and Tavi just breaks him like a Kit Kat. So. And to be fair, part of it is unintentional. So first thing he does is, after they've repulsed the Karnim once, Tavi rides out to confront Sal, calls him a coward multiple times. Sal realizes
nothing.
Sal realizes who Tavi is and tries to lightning bolt him, which does nothing other than burst his eardrums. And Tavi hits him on the muzzle with a fucking flag.
Yes. So essentially what Tavi does is Tavi does the equivalent of saying to a Republican in America, you're not a patriot. And multiple times in various ways, takes a bullet, essentially. or takes
He's
like
the fucking Theodore Roosevelt of this shit.
Yeah, he takes a bullet multiple times, and then beats Sorrel to death with the American flag.
Well, not quite to death, but he beats him senseless.
Like he makes Sal bite off his tongue.
It's great.
But yeah, and it's basically revealed that Tavi was able to resist the sorcery because of the gem that Dorothea had, which was basically the plan. Dorothea was supposed to survive the lightning blast,
Take
take
command.
control, and march the Legion
Yeah,
away.
we've only mentioned
didn't have the
Magnus
gem.
once so far.
Magnus is the cool old dude who is actually a cursor.
Yep.
And like
Hey,
he got mentioned last
to be
book as
fair,
this
are there
basically
any
crazy
cool old
bastard.
dudes who are not cursors?
Fair point. Series.
Ceres is the only one I can think of off the top of my head who is a cool old dude who is not also a cursor.
Yep.
Well, the leader of the Icemen, Sunset or Sunrise.
We'll talk about him later. When
We'll talk about
we
him
get
next
that
week.
part.
But yeah.
And Varg. Varg is an old man.
Varg, yeah.
Varg
Varg is at least 600. We don't know exactly how old he is because I don't think he ever actually mentions it. But he's been playing Ludus, which is the chess,
And then the
for
other
600
guy,
years.
and then the Huntmaster from Book 5.
Oh yeah,
Right.
that guy is pretty great.
Let's get back on the topic, though.
Yeah, because we've only got about 10 minutes, I'd say. So basically, it all comes to a head in that Nasorg, like, very nearly kills off the entire Legion. But Sal pulls him back so that Sal can get the credit, and Tavi isn't going to let that happen. So what he does...
Oh, yes.
He gets... I mean, you can talk about it. I know I've been talking a lot about it, but it is just because this is my favorite book. I want
to talk about this scene because the scene is great.
Go ahead.
Basically, they're basically at a bridge over a river, and so what Tavi does is they're trying to hold the bridge, but they realize no, we gotta fall back to the other side of the bridge. So what they do is to prevent any of the Canaan from sneaking through the river, they chum the river to get sharks to swim up river because it's pretty close to the coast.
And they get a baby Leviathan as well, 40 foot long, and it's a baby.
Yeah, so they chum the river, and then they get to work on making the bridge and the area right on the other side of it as fortified as fucking possible. And then Tavi's like, hey, Windcrafters, I'm going to show you a couple tricks.
Yeah, so we should give some background on Magnus now. The book starts with Tavi and Magnus doing research into what they call the Romanics, who are exactly what it sounds like, the old Roman legions. Were the
we know that this is true, but Tavi and Magnus believe that they were Furyless, and nobody else does.
And so they start off by building a catapult. I will admit, I am disappointed in them for using the inferior siege weapon as opposed to our Lord and Savior, the trebuchet.
Was the trebuchet a thing in Roman times, though?
No, it's a medieval thing.
Yeah, it's a medieval thing. So
yes, but it's for the meme, though.
Yes.
Also, they've had 2,000 years of engineering and magic.
No, they haven't.
Figure out trebuchets.
Fuzzy, that's the point. They haven't.
But that's the thing. They've been stagnating completely. Like they don't even use catapults anymore.
They're
Roman
in the
architecture
rut.
Roman engineering is what if we found plasma weapons to them?
But anyway, just a hilarious thing. Their catapult works and launches a rock over like a hill. And suddenly the rock gets thrown over because it nearly hit Max.
I love Max so much.
Max offers to rebuild the catapult, like thinking, this is going to take like 5 minutes with my crafting. And Magnus goes, oh no, we're not using fury crafting. It's going to take months. Yeah. And Max just gets an oh shit look in his face. Anyway.
Yeah, let's talk about the. So one of the romantic things that they talked about was something called a lens, which factors climax when.
No. Before it factors into the climax, it's foreshadowed because Dorothea is like, "Hey, you have some basic fury crafting, right? I wanna put some soup on. Why don't you start the fire?"
Yeah, let's make some tea. So put a fire on, and like Tavi uses a lens to start a fire, and like completely perturbs Dorothea because not only has he managed to start the fire, but did so without her hearing his furies doing it. So she's like, "Is he actually stronger than I thought? What the fuck?
Like the idea is for that to be possible, he'd have to be more powerful than she is."
To be fair, she is.
I mean,
he just doesn't know it yet.
We're gonna wait.
He eventually,
give it a few more books.
He wakes up to his things next book.
Well, at the end of this book.
Oh yeah,
I forgot. We didn't even mention Katai's role in this book.
Katai is so funny. Jesus Christ,
I love her so much. God damn. So basically, she infiltrates the camp by disguising herself as a blind beggar blind leper who
basically,
plays.
Yeah.
And Tavi did not recognize her for several weeks. And eventually, she reveals that it's her, and she's like, "Wow, I really chose a dumb one."
The only reason he realizes is because he suddenly realizes, I've stopped complaining that Katai's not here. I wonder why that... Oh.
That was a great moment.
The other shoe drops.
Especially because she decided to camp out by the brothel. Like, playing music in front of the brothel, which is where which is ironically enough... Well, no, he doesn't only go there for the baths.
He does only go there for the baths.
He does cursor work there.
No.
Well, yes, he does cursor work there, but he doesn't actually he doesn't take advantage of their services.
No, he goes there, take baths, and to buy and sell information from the mistress of the from the madam,
Mistress Simnea.
The madam, yeah.
But while Katai is hidden, she takes out a slaver band as well.
And then it leads to a hilarious exchange where
Tavi and Max are like...
Tavi are talking about it, and they're being very coy about it, like, "Oh, I heard someone took out a slaver band last night," and I'm like, and Tavi's like, "Oh yeah,
that was good
about
work."
That, and they're like,
Max is like,
"Wait, that wasn't you?
It wasn't you? Who was it then?"
Oh shit.
Anyway, let's we've got 5 minutes left, so let's get to the climax, which is Tavi
fucking awesome.
Basically. So what he does is he has Max and Crassus, who obviously, of high lord level fury crafting, go first and just cut a swath along this bridge through the Carnim, while Tavi follows along with a cohort of the Legion. He then, because the Legion has a surplus of knights Ares and no other knights, what he does is he gets them to make... So one thing that...
they have one other knight. They have one knight Ignis, and the rest are knights Ares.
They have some knights Flora as well, but there's not a massive amount they can do when they're running out of arrows. But
essentially, the other thing is this Legion is so abnormally high on knights Ares.
60 knight Ares is the count that was given. But I just go back for a very short moment. The way that this knight Ignis is introduced is the old captain goes, "We have one knight Ignis, and he's currently being treated for burns," which says everything about him, I think. So what
Yep.
what aircrafters can do is they can basically bend the. I think it's
They're airbenders.
yeah,
No,
but
so
they
the
can
way
they
it
can
works
use it
is
to
they
basically use it as a telescope.
They change the density of the air to refract and bend light, basically.
Yeah, they
So
can
the-
do that for
As
camouflage.
scientific basis, and shows that they haven't completely lost all sort of the scientific stuff because
Because Tavi is
that's actually
crazy.
a common. It's Taffy's use for it is extremely unorthodox, but it is common enough in that that's how they do stealth. Like aircrafters can basically become stealth
Or they
fighters
can
by
veil themselves.
Right.
veiling themselves. Yeah.
Right, but like the reason they use it in this way is because Tavi realizes, oh, it's the lens.
He uses it as this giant fucking lens and basically creates a
fucking
giant
death
death
laser.
beam using the sun's rays.
It's just so good.
And it causes havoc, and suddenly Tavi realizes he is about sort of 10 feet away from Saul, who is just looking around, just like, oh shit.
And then
Saul
Tavi
sees
just
Tavi,
Jake Saul.
tries to lightning bolt him again. Tavi survives again because he's got another gem, because he gave the first one to Crassus to survive the Eldritch Abominations in the cloud, and just fucking shoves his sword down Saul's throat.
It's
and
great.
sends the Khanim packing.
Unfortunately,
Except,
this
yeah,
winds up leaving Nasag in charge, who is much more competent.
So basically, Nasag, due to his society and his caste's honor system, could not openly make contradict Sarl. So basically, what he did is he
had Tavi assassinated
as a blunt instrument to murder
he used
Sarl.
Tavi as a cat's paw to get rid of Sarl.
Yeah, Nasog had to prove to the Maker Caste, who are who decide who makes the decisions. He had to prove to the Maker Caste that
Khanim's
Saul
society
was
is kind of egalitarian in a sense, in that
they instead of it being sort of like, oh, you'd expect in a warrior race that the warriors would be on top. No, the Makers make the decision because everyone realizes that without these, farmers, they wouldn't be able to survive. So they let them make the
without
decisions.
the Makers, no tools, no food, nothing.
Yep.
You're screwed, basically.
But yeah, so and Nasol just uses Tavi as a fucking as an assassin for himself, basically.
And also, no, the reason I say they're kind of egalitarian is they very likely don't have a currency between different countries, and they basically don't really have any sort of artificial scarcity or things like that, as far as we can tell. All of the scarcity that happens is because of famine.
I mean, to be fair, we don't really know, because when we see their society in full, it's in full societal collapse.
Yeah.
That's book 5 talk, though.
Yeah. Anyway, basically to move on to the next book a little bit.
Hold on, let's take a quick break because I have to use the
bathroom. No. I'm just going to finish off this book. We discover that not only have the Khanim brought 60,000 troops, they've also brought
they're
about 1 million, 10 million.
They never find out the number, I don't think.
Basically, enough ships to
they bring
fill the
ships.
harbor of a major port city, and then they burn the ships behind them.
Yeah,
well, Sarl
basically, and Tavi suddenly gets that realization of, okay, I'm not afraid of Saul anymore. I'm now afraid of what sent him here. I'm connecting the dots, and I don't like those dots at all. Which we will. Well, it's technically
week.
We'll get to that
technically
later.
next week, but it's talked about obliquely in the next
briefly
book,
and bleakly.
But we will take a break now. Yeah.
All right, be right back.
Wait a second, is Jack the only one gone?
Are you gonna try and transition this into Cradle talk?
briefly, can we gush about Wintersteel?
Are we paused on the stream?
No, we're not.
No?
But like, you know,
I mean, we won't mention any details until the actual podcast, but Wintersteel was my favorite book of the series by far.
Oh,
White did a full Sanderlanche at the end.
yeah, no, he did, which I appreciate. I very much appreciated it.
And it's like, he did. What I really like is that he managed to break several rules of his magic system while also not breaking any rules of his magic system.
I mean,
He broke the norms, but he didn't actually break the rules.
He kept to the letter of the law, not the spirit.
No, it's more that I will say I tend to like White's magic systems more than Sanderson. I mean, we've only seen 3 of them, but I like them more because he's not as stuck on the fact that the magic has to be internally consistent, or like magic has to be basically another set of laws of physics. Like there's a level of wonder and magic in his magic that I feel can sometimes be missing from Sanderson's.
I think Sanderson gets his based on Vancian magic, which is magic A is magic A. I think it's just it's a school of thought, right?
Yeah, whereas White's magic system is more it's
more Lotor than anything. It's more Lotor style magic.
Well, not even that. It's that magic has like rules and like there's a more or less strict system. But the thing is, even the reader, especially the reader, but even the people in world don't necessarily know all the rules.
Well, we can discuss that in more detail because we will also have we'll definitely have a Stormlight, 3 Stormlight podcasts because again,
I mean,
we're
I'm
not
gonna
getting
be
through one of
real
those
with you. I don't know
one
if
of
we
those
can
books.
cover 1 Stormlight per episode.
We will have to.
Have to get real good at it.
Yeah, it's not going to happen for a while because we're going to have to get good.
Gotta get good.
We are kind of scrubs. Oh, Jack, you're back. How much Cradle did you catch?
I
We
did
didn't
not catch
mention
any of it.
specifics.
Okay,
Didn't mention
good.
any specifics. It's fine.
I have not read any of the books either, so.
Yeah, that's fine. So, book 4, Captain's Fury.
This is my personal
My
favorite.
favorite.
So I would like to.
Interesting. This is actually my least favorite.
Really? I thought you liked 1 and 2 less.
Well, so like, book 1 and 2 are hard, right? But like, of the books that I really enjoy, like of like the part like once book 3 gets the series going, book 4 is like weaker in this arc.
Oh, I see. So it's your least favorite of the good shits.
Yes, because like I don't know, we'll get to it, but like it just doesn't flow as good to me.
Anyway,
So,
Fuzzy, Jack, whichever one of you wants to do the summary, try and make it better.
So I'm gonna
than
try
mine.
and do a summary of Tavi's storyline. Tavi has basically grown the first Aleren into a legion that everyone kind of wants to be a part of. Like he's grown it into a legion of heroes and become like the people's champion sort of deal. And of course, the moment he gains prominence, politics get involved.
The sharks start coming?
The sharks smell blood.
And Senator Arnos, who is NVIDIA's
pet politician.
Yes, NVIDIA's pet politician, decides, hey, I'm going to be as cartoonishly evil as possible because I am essentially a conservative.
Jackass, yes.
Just
yes, conservative. That's what I said.
Think of just like every trait of an incompetent politician, and Arnos showed it at some point.
Incompetent,
run.
corrupt, and actively malicious.
Quick question: When did what's the word? When did this book come out? Just curious.
2007.
Interesting. Continue.
Look, I'm not saying Jim Butcher is some kind of prophet. I'm not saying it. But anyway, so that aside, there's this entire mess where Arnos is basically trying to muscle in on Tavi's command wherever possible, undercutting him at every possible opportunity, not taking any of his ideas or knowledge of the threat seriously. You know, as all politicians do. I.e., not listening to people who actually know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And
he thinks he knows better than the expert.
Yes. And basically, even though the Khanim actually just want to go home and are willing to negotiate, Arnos is having none of that because he wants this to be a military victory for himself. He ends up undercutting Tavi further and further and further until Tavi stands up for himself. And once Tavi stands up for himself, he takes an entire city of innocent people hostage.
Well, it's not even that. Arnos was looking for reasons to get rid of Tavi and got them from or got a potential weak point from Baliar Marcus, who is still ostensibly working for the Aquitanes. Though at the end of book 3, he was very much like, can I come back to the side of Gaius now, please?
I mean, we don't know which way he swings, right? So, it could be both.
Anyways,
Arnos tries to force Tavi to execute innocent townspeople for helping, in inverted commas the Khanim, i.e., not fighting them to the last man, and
he
he's
gets
hoping
court-martialed.
He's hoping that Tavi won't go through with it, and he will have a reason to.
Refuses,
to get rid of Tavi.
But Tavi manages to more or less save them by leaving Crassus in charge of the legions.
Yep, which means Arnos can't do shit.
We'll get into more details later, but just, we're 10 minutes into this bit, so.
So, yeah. Tavi is court-martialed, put in jail, and as a result, he decides, right before he executes his grand plan to do a prison break, Araris decides to drop the truth of his ancestry and parentage on him.
He does it before they go on the march.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. And he does it because he's like, Isana, you gotta tell him. He's a grown man, you gotta tell him. And then Isana's like, yeah, but he's my baby boy. He'll always be my baby boy. And then Araris is like, okay, I'm gonna tell him. You're too much of a coward to do it. I'm gonna tell him. Isana's like, no, please, no. And then Araris just tells him.
Anyway, so
I think that's part of why I don't like this book a lot. As much
it does
as the
kind
others.
of
like
fair.
I mean, Tavi's reaction is fair. I just hate it because it feels like he's overreacting. The way he's written in this moment.
Really, if you really think about it, he's really not, though. And the reason he takes it badly is not...
Alfred was a lie.
Yeah.
We can discuss this later. I just really want to try and get this summary.
He reveals it to the previous captain of the first Aleran, who is now disabled, like missing a leg and everything. He reveals that
after that.
He's still there in an advisory capacity, so he reveals that he's the princeps, and he's like, "Oh no, okay," and basically,
well, but he breaks out to go to Alera Imperia because the reason why he was court-martialed is that Arnos caught him talking with Nasorg from the last book. Nasorg said the only way we will talk is if you get Varg here.
Yeah, so
Tavi goes
Arnos
to break
like,
into the Grey Tower a second time.
Yep. And he brings
With
along Sonic, Katai, Aaron, and I think Max.
Max is there, and they
Araris.
use
Araris.
Demos.
No, Max isn't there. Max isn't there. Max is still with the
Sure,
Legion.
Max is back in.
It's
So
Araris.
they bring along Araris, and so the interesting thing here is that I really like this interaction wherein Aaron is like, yeah, it's gonna be tough to break into the Grey Tower ever since you guys broke Max out. They really upgraded the security, and I read a report on it once, and then Tavi's like, oh, I know, I wrote that report. So Tavi designed the security for the new Grey Tower.
Tavi's the one who overhauled it, basically.
Yeah, so in hindsight, maybe letting the first and only person to ever break into the Grey Tower design the new security measures. Like,
well, I mean, it was a good idea in theory, just they didn't expect that he would have to break in again a couple of years later.
Yeah. And it's like,
yeah, but I feel like it's Tavi, though. He really should have seen it coming.
Anyway,
they really busy though. Guys has been really busy.
Anyway, they break Varg out with quite a few complications,
including both Tavi and Varg nearly dying.
Yeah. Oh, was it before or after that they got attacked by Arnos' hired goons?
Before.
Okay, yeah, we should mention Arnos' hired goons real quick.
We will get into them in more detail. As I said, just bare bones summary for now.
Okay.
So they get Varg back. Unfortunately, Arnos has been letting basically mercenaries run wild and has killed a ton of farmers for no good reason, which is serially pissed off Nasorg and the slave legion or freed slave legion that Nasorg.
Yeah, we didn't talk about them. So the Kanim are really, really not into the whole slavery thing. Kind of.
I would say this is the book that takes the biggest stand on slavery because we've also got that scene.
Yes, so Demos is basically mercenary to the core.
Demos is a part-time slaver. Katai finds the chains, talks to Tavi about it, who is like, look, I don't approve, but it's just, part of the society. Katai's like, no, fuck that, which, this is how you should deal with somebody from a different culture coming in and seeing a culture with slavery, hint, hint. And Tavi realizes that, no, there is no way to explain this. So he goes,
just real quick, I have no idea. Do you know what's the worst part about that hint hint moment? There are so many series you could be talking about, and that is very depressing to me.
Okay, I will say it outright. I'm talking about Shield Hero. Fuck that series.
I thought you were talking about Wheel of Time for a second.
Oh,
Wheel of Time also does that thing.
I know.
We'll talk about that when we come.
We will talk about that in another different one. Anyway, so Nasorg and basically the leader of the freed slaves.
Freedmen. Let's call them freedmen.
Freedmen are seriously pissed off, and understandably, and says, "Look, there's no peace as long as Arnos lives." So what Tavi does is he goes to the fortress where the legions are, declares his title. With the help of
at the same time as a
volcano erupts,
which is just the most hilarious thing because he sees it happening and goes, "I have no idea what the fuck is happening, but this adds to the delivery."
Let's roll with it.
Challenges Arnos to Juris Macdo. Arnos sends a champion, which is like one of the most deadly swords in Alera. Tavi
Put in
defeats
perspective
him.
of how deadly they
Defeats
are.
her.
Defeats her. And Arnos is killed by Valiar Marcus. And, peace is restored.
While Arnos was holding a disguised Nvidia hostage.
A disguised Nvidia hostage. So
So
that's a
Fidelius
hell of a way to
got
hand in
two
your
birds with one
resignation.
stone. Oh, yeah.
Hell of a way to hand in your resignation. Unfortunately, it doesn't stick, but that's next week's topic.
Yep.
Anyway, that's Tavi. So the only other main one is
Bernard, Amara,
and Gaius.
Oh, now
I'll talk about this one.
Oh,
This
Go
one
ahead.
was oh god. I did not like this part. This was the part I did not like of the book.
this is kind of what cemented my opinion of Amara. I'm sorry to say.
Let's save that.
We can talk about
Put a pin in it. Put a pin in it. Anyways, so Gaius recruits Bernard and Amara for a stealth mission where the three of them are to sneak into Colaris' territory to disarm what is basically a massive volcano because Colaris is a sore loser and decided to hold his entire area hostage so that he could not be brought to justice for his many, many crimes. So he's holed up in his tower, crippled from his injuries in the last book, and anyone who enters his territory using
it's only Gaius.
Yeah, if Gaius enters his
Gaius's
territory,
Furies.
if Gaius enters his territory and uses Furies once, the alarm will be triggered and Colaris goes boom because of the volcano.
So just to clarify, the things that they swear by in this world instead of gods are things called Great Furies, which, as it turns out, are just basically giant primordial elementals.
They're Olympus Mons. They're Olympus.
Including
this one in particular is a volcano. Hint, hint.
And Colaris decided to basically bully it.
Tie his life to it.
Yeah, tied his life to it and bullied it until it was pissed off beyond all reason and would go off at the slightest hint of Colaris' life being in danger.
I think Colaris pissed off Groudon and said, "Fuck you, Gaius."
Basically,
it really is, isn't it?
Yeah, no, basically. Anyways, so Gaius recruits Bernard and Amar to sneak him in so he can disarm the volcano. Supposedly. And it is a slog through the marshes of Colaris, both in terms of what the characters go through and in terms of what the storyline is. And at the end of it,
because I really don't want to deal with an old man who's not used to walking, getting a foot infection. It's that's not what I'm here for.
We'll talk about this after the summary.
Yeah, Gaius is the only person in the party who can use healing magic, but he gets a foot infection because he is not used to walking long distances. Anyways, eventually they get very close to the territory, but Gaius is forced to use his Furies because they wind up tripping the alarm and alerting the guards. So they have an entire legion of slave soldiers on their heels until eventually Gaius goes all Super Saiyan and slaughters them all. And he tries to disarm the volcano and realizes he cannot do that. And so
he knew from the beginning that he couldn't do that.
No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
We will get into that, but he definitely didn't. I will quote
in the moment he realizes Colaris made it too difficult for him to disarm that bomb, and he's like, "You motherfucker! I have to pull this plug. I have to set this bomb off myself."
Essentially, Colaris tied a Gordian knot, and the only way to break the Gordian knot is to cut it.
Yeah, and also it was either this or have the bomb go off while all of the other legions were invading Colare. So it was
as well as a bunch more refugees as well.
It was basically There
It
were
was
no
the
good
dog.
options there.
It was shooting the
chose-
dog at that point.
There were no good options, so he chose the
Lesser of the evils.
lesser of two evils, the one with. Sometimes it's kind of just one of the realities of war, isn't it? Because sometimes even the least amount of casualties is way too
Still a
many
lot of
casualties.
casualties.
That's the thing with war. There's
Yeah.
no such thing as a good war.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly.
Well, technically,
And
want to say like a war defending your homeland.
And I mean,
yeah, no, even then, even then.
I did say technically.
Anyway, so basically the end of that is Amara is disgusted at what Gaius was forced to do and
Yeah.
quits the curses.
Yep.
Which means we can get on to what your gripe is, and I know what it is because we've discussed this one before.
She's a hypocrite. She's an overly idealistic hypocrite who is. She is actually the unironic version of that meme where I think we should change society somewhat, and yet you participate. It's not that. It's that she has all of these lofty idealistic goals, but she has no idea how to actually implement them. She's like, okay, I want you to do this magically better. I just don't know how. You figure it out, but like, yeah. And that is the character archetype. I cannot stand that character archetype. The character archetype that is morally self-righteous, but not actually capable of doing any better. Any comments on that?
so Amber now.
I'm sorry. What? Did we lose someone? I thought we lost someone.
No, get
Okay.
Gen's
Yeah,
back.
I'm back.
Okay.
No, I agree. Like Amara, like that was the other thing. It's like Amara's like refusal to Amara's rejection of Gaius felt forced because Butcher wanted Amara to reach the point that Fidelius did, but he didn't have a good way to do it.
Yeah. The thing is, like, the difference between why they get disillusioned is, like, Fidelius thought that Gaius was basically washed up and had no options and was just forestalling the inevitable.
That and I
And
think
just playing games too much.
Playing games with people's lives is.
Well, no, to be fair, the Aquitaines did that too. No, he accepted that as part of doing business, but I think the part that really got him was, yes, the idea that Gaius was just a washed up has-been clinging to power even though he should pass it on.
Whereas with Amara, she sees him doing something ruthless but necessary, and it's really not a good comparison, the two scenarios. Like, they're not really the same level of why they would feel disillusioned.
Right.
But at the same time, Amara does not outright betray Gaius. She just resigns, which is like feels more in line with her character.
But even if you ignore the Fidelius parallel, it's just it makes Amara weaker as a character. Right?
I think. Sorry.
I think her idealism is because she is overly idealistic in that she. Look,
I think it's supposed to be a character flaw.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No,
it's
but
a character
I think the thing that gets me is that I think the thing that gets me is that no one ever calls her on it. Right? Everyone acts like it's a good thing that no one ever treats it like a character flaw.
I agree. Well, the thing is, though, no one likes Gaius at this point. No one. No one's going to defend Gaius.
Gaius doesn't like Gaius at this point.
Gaius has never liked Gaius. But we will get into that speech in the next episode, and I mean,
no, fair, but not God, what's her name? Asana like, the entire series, book 1 to 4, is like, Amara, I fucking hate you because you're a cursor. And you worked for this
Okay, technical difficulties, I guess. Huh.
I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
but-
like, with in Tavi's case, like, he is basically the only one who sympathizes with Gaius, partially because he doesn't really know all that well what he did, but he's done.
Hang on
no,
one
he
second.
no, he very clearly gets it and very clearly knows what Gaius had to do because he says at the end of the book, volcano. Gaius nods. Must have been tough, or something like that. Yes, hello, Puskat. I can't let you in because I'm on a call. So, and that's the thing. Tavi is one of the very few people. I mean, Bernard clearly gets it, but doesn't like it.
He understands. He's a soldier, though. That's the thing.
And that's the thing.
Amara
Amara is a spy. And Amara
Right.
is.
Amara is. The thing is, she also worships Gaius like a god.
Puts him up on a pedestal, and when
Yeah.
Gaius does some sketchy stuff, that pedestal breaks in half.
It's almost like
at a very stressful point as well.
it's. I wonder if this is like Butcher almost doing a criticism of cancel culture.
I think it's a bit
Criticism
early.
of who?
Like it's almost like I don't know. It feels very much like Gaius does one thing horrifically wrong for decent reasons because there's no better option, and like
Yeah.
Amara's like instant betrayal, instant, and like
Again, I wouldn't
the
call
thing
it a
is like
betrayal, but yeah.
well, it's more she takes it as a betrayal to her.
Yes.
Like I think this is Fuzzy's other main issue with this is like, and Fuzzy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's almost like it's less about what Gaius did and more that it it's more like it's less about what Gaius did and more what that does to her. So it's almost like a selfish thing too.
I can kind of see that.
Right? It's like
Yeah.
because like she like the way I read that scene was like Gaius very much had no good options, and anyone in that moment could see that. And
No, he
Amara,
absolutely had no good options there.
like, and Amara acts like she has no context for this when she is one of the few people that has all of the context. And so like there is an element of like Amar makes this about her when you have Gaius doing all of the things. And not I'm not saying Gaius is the victim here. He's not. Him and Kalaris are the instigators. Instead of making it about the people who died, it reads the way it reads and it feels like it's written is it's about her.
I would like to move on because I am running short on time.
Let's just very quickly go through the very few highlights of the Bernard, Amara, and Gaia storyline. One of which is well, first Brentis Minoris like comes across them as like My father has had me searching through the swamps for weeks for 2 sneaks, and then Gaius just goes 3. And
keep in mind, at this stage, Brensis Minoris is probably the equal to his father in terms of raw power.
Gaius even says, look, I could have beaten him, but it would have taken a lot of time and a lot of effort that I don't have to spare right now.
Right.
So he just intimidates the fuck out of them. He rolled a nat 20 on that intimidation check.
And that's the thing, he fucking uses, I think it's almost certainly metalcraft to basically just crush the slave collars on basically a legion of these slave soldiers, taking them out instantly.
There's also that moment where he basically just he intimidates all but one of a legion. And
that poor fucking dude. That poor fucking dude.
Fucking guy suffers for his
rolled a nat 20 on his wisdom saving throw. The one dude.
And he got fucking cut in half for it, basically.
And also, of course, there is the Amara's best moment in the book, which is her just breaking the sound barrier to impale a guy through the head. Which is basically her only real good moment in the book.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
she
get
breaks
on to the other
every
half.
Bone in her body doing that.
Her arm is a swollen mess afterwards.
I mean, that's what I really like about these books, is it has actually realistic consequences for stuff like that. Like there are speeds the human body is not supposed to go, and Amara constantly breaks those. When she comes up against resistance, she fucking suffers for it.
Yep. Anyways, let's also
sorry, I had a dog emergency. What I missed?
We're going
to the
resistance. We're going into the other half.
Yeah, we're going to the Tavi storyline.
Because
we already talked about some of the highlights, but let's talk about the mercenaries real quick.
Yeah, so basically Arnos has as his Singularis has got all these amazing fighters. The best of which is Phrygia Navaris, who has apparently got a body count in the hundreds.
He's an expert duelist who is repeatedly stated to be near Araris's level, and demonstrates that at one point by pinning him to the hull of a ship on her sword. When he gets distracted for seconds.
She is also majorly crazy.
Oh, she's
she is kind of the poster child for the how horrible life is for illegitimate children.
Yep.
She is entirely functioning based on... So, what's funny with this is that later in the series, her father, the one who abandoned her completely, is kind of implied to be a decent person.
No, we don't ever meet her father.
It's Lord Phrygia, isn't it?
No.
It's specifically not.
The way they do bastard names is they take the name of the city they are born in and basically add an AR onto it. So that's why. No. Crassus. No. She isn't. She is not.
She's not.
That is why. That is why Crassus is Antillus Crassus, whereas Max is Antillar Maximus, not Antillus Maximus. Phrygia Navaris is just the bastard name. It's not.
It's like John.
Maximus is knowledge bastard, like Jon Snow or Edric Storm from Song of Ice and Fire.
And the idea of using Snow or whatever from Snow is the name given to all bastard children
in the north.
In the north, same thing here, except it's depending on the region one is born into.
Yes.
I mean, if we are never told who Navaris's father is, it is. It's sort of implied, but sort of not, that Navaris knows who he is. like the implication is that she is just trying to make herself as noteworthy as possible to get his attention. Whether that's because she knows who he is or doesn't know who he is and wants him to step forward, we just don't know. No, Lord Phrygius is definitely not Navaris' father. For one thing, Navaris only has metalcraft. She doesn't have any other form of crafting.
Yeah, the High Lord's bastards do tend to inherit all of their abilities, as Maximus shows.
Yeah. But anyway, the first
he duels her. Oh, sorry.
Well, I just want to go from the start of the book, which is so Tavi and Asana are talking, then Navaris shows up, and Tavi just fucking sasses her so fucking much, even knowing who she is. And just as she's lost her patience is about to kill him, fucking Araris, Crassus, and Max show up and are just like, yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, so that's the thing. When you're a duelist, being the best duelist in the world doesn't really mean much when you get a fireball to the face.
Or when you're up against like a huge number of people.
Well, I mean, it's the big thing in that sense was that they absolutely had the drop on Navaris. Like, I think even Crassus says, it's not fair. They didn't even get to draw steel.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's why Crassus is a sweet summer child, because he still, the words fair is still in his dictionary.
Oh, that's another hilarious bit from this book. Like fucking.
Oh yeah, when did have we talked about how Crassus gets the crap kicked out of him in this book? Is this a running theme?
Yeah. What was it this time?
I actually forget.
I forget too.
Crassus is kind of the butt monkey of
No, he did. He did. He gets the shit kicked out of him because he's leading the assault on the city.
Right.
Oh yeah. So
I mean, he gets a dislocated shoulder, but it's like nothing major. Not like the next book or the book after that or the book before this.
No, he does get the shit kicked out of him though for it.
No, it's just not as bad as last book.
It's nowhere near as bad. He definitely does get hurt this book, but it's not as bad as last book or the book after and the last book.
Yeah.
In the last book, he gets the crap kicked out of him both physically and emotionally.
Well, we will get to that next week, and we are running out of time. So
let's talk about the flybacks. Oh, one more thing before we get to that. When Isana takes a dip in the ocean, she gets a power-up.
Mm.
And
because apparently the entire ocean is a single Cthulhu elemental.
Yeah.
So let's be real.
In this world, does that really surprise you?
Yeah, because we also got our first look at Leviathans. They're exactly what they sound like. Just
they're
big-ass fish. Yeah.
Oh, they're not fish. They're reptiles.
They're dinosaurs. They're dinosaurs on magical steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
They're dinosaurs on magical growth hormones. And
like everything else in this series.
Yeah, no, everything is on magical growth hormones in this series, but like they're dinosaurs.
Yeah, so Asana, gets this power up, and she literally throws a shark up onto the deck of a ship, and then she heals a pretty fucking mortal wound.
It's a fatal wound. Let's just call it what it is. It's a literally fatal wound.
Araris got stabbed in the gut and then basically pulled himself off the sword horizontally.
He didn't pull himself off. He cut it out of him.
Yeah.
Sideways.
He was halfway cut. He's halfway cut in half, basically.
Yes.
Like a third.
And Asana, and Asana not only heals that, but heals it within minutes without a tub. So without any water around.
Mm-hmm.
But waterbenders generally need water to heal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not Asana.
Part of this is speculated to be, since Tavi got his Furies now, so did Asana. Asana also got her.
Yeah, so
I forgot to
speaking
mention
of
that Tommy
Tavi
can
and
use Furies
Asana,
now.
speaking of Tavi and Asana, by the way, I think Gen was talking about how it felt a bit like an overreaction. I think the reaction was definitely like in large part because of just how much of a betrayal of trust it was.
Yeah.
Right? With his whole childhood being a lie, like I know it functionally doesn't make a difference, but it's a matter of identity, right? Like random orphan.
That and like he only really has a bad reaction to it the minute he hears it, which is fair enough. Like his first reaction is anger, but once he actually like stops and thinks about it, he's not that
There
bad.
is one thing that kind of justifiably does make him very, very angry. Is that he learns that the reason he didn't manifest his furies until so much later is because Isana intentionally watercrafted him to slow his growth.
We should point out at this point that Tavi does actually have he has a measure of his furies now.
He can only do it internally. He can internalize.
And because they're pair bond, Katai can do it too.
Which is a hilarious moment. When fucking Asana is like, wait, you can Furycraft what? Right in the middle of the heist.
And then I do love the fact that she's Isana's like, why didn't you tell me you can Furycraft? And Tavi's like, I don't know, why didn't you tell me you were my mom for the first 20 years of my life?
Touché.
And Isana's like, okay, that hurts, but fair.
Yeah.
But fair.
I earned that.
Yeah, I kind of walked right into that one.
Yes.
But no,
anyways,
the biggest thing is that Tavi has suffered a lot. Like, he's gained more than he can ever imagine from not having Furies. But he suffered a lot from not having Furies. And the idea that your own mother, who also pretended to not be your mother, is the one that did that to you. It I understand.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know. I just didn't. It's a moment for me.
Move on because there's a couple more things we need to cover before we close up, and we're almost done.
Arg is a badass, as usual.
Arg's a badass. Let's talk about the duel. Because that's pretty much the only major plot beat we haven't talked about in any detail. Because it's basically
Tavi manages to just barely hold on against basically
one of the best duelists in the country.
By being a generalist as opposed to a specialist, right? Because duelists like Araris and Aldrich and Navaris, they are essentially like Amara and Isana in that they are hyper specialized metal crafters.
Yeah.
However, we finally see one of the flaws of that hyper specialization in this book, in that Tavi is able to keep up because while he is not even a fraction of the metal crafter Navaris is, he does have every other internal crafting available. So between the strength of earth crafting and the speed of wind crafting and the even the empathy of water crafting works in his favor, right?
Oh, and then he just starts pounding on her insecurities to get
basically make her lose her grasp of the metal crafting and just rush in.
Which has been noted to be very much something that requires focus and discipline. And
she
not
loses
being a crazy
her
person
shit.
in general.
Yeah, that's how he wins, and Arno's
then there's a fucking hilarious moment, because when Tavi wins, Isana starts the crowd cheering Gaius Septimus, Octavian. That's it.
And Tavi is just
and
so
Tavi
mad
is watching Arnos get away, and it's like, stop chanting, you idiots! He's getting away.
I love that. Is one of my favorite.
That was great
series.
That's great.
And it really, that is one of the perfect underpinnings of Tavi as a character. He is, as a certain spoiler character says later, he basically has pragmatism flowing through his veins instead of blood.
Yeah. No,
That is
he's a
him
pragmatist through and through.
in a nutshell. And to an extent, the rest of his grandfather he doesn't take after his father very much.
No.
There's also a very interesting conversation he has with Araris in this book, in that he says, because Septimus was a very good man, but because he was such a good man, Araris strongly suspects that he wouldn't have been the best father. Which is
He would have been too busy making things right.
Yeah, he would have been too busy making the world a better place to have any time for his son, which, I mean, and also, let's just say, Septimus seemed like he was a bit more of an Amara than he was Tavi, if you catch my meaning.
An idealist.
Yes, to the point that it's what got him killed.
We'll talk
Let's
about
get
that next
into
book.
that later. We should wrap up now because I really gotta go.
I just want to run through some very quick highlights that I just found hilarious. So, when Tavi and Nasorg meet, Tavi goes, "So I want you gone. You want to be gone. Maybe we can work something out." Nasorg goes, "That would be possible in a rational world, but we're in Alera."
Really, just truer words. And
Yeah.
also, the moment where we learn that the significance of the term Gadara.
That's very cool. So Nasorg calls him Gadara. And Tavi knows that it means enemy, but he doesn't know the full meaning until he sees Varg, which is like... And when he hears Nasorg called Tavi Gadara, he goes, "Okay, I'm in. Your plan is sound."
Yep, that sounds good. You've earned my trust.
The Canem have multiple different words for enemy, and Gadara is
the closest word Canem have to friend.
I gotta go now. I'm sorry. I really cannot stay any longer.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, though, Jack.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
I have only one last thing to say, which is when Aaron is woken up and is told Tavi's plan, he's just like,
"I'm crazy.
The plan is insane. You are insane. I'll need
me
some pants." Because at this point he's naked in a water crafting tub, and that's another thing. Fucking the healer realizes he is a cursor based on how many knives Aaron has.
I mean, it's just like
he likes knives. Okay, look, don't judge. He can have hobbies.
Look, Max is the sword, Tavi is the crown, Aaron is the knife. We get it.
Yeah.
Aaron is not the knife. He's not just a knife. He is all the knives.
Yes, no. Like, by the end, like, we'll get to it, but like there's a point at which, like, I think Aaron is probably Tavi's best field agent.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, so basically it's a matter of parallels, and what's interesting is that Tavi very much takes after Sextus more than he takes after his father.
Well, he's a mix of both. He's
a mix, but in terms of his entourage, in terms of his operating procedure, he is
no, for sure. He is Gaius Sextus, except with the creativity of Septimus.
Not the creativity, the charisma.
No,
I mean, this is getting into next book, but there is a bit where Max's dad basically goes into the qualities of a leader, which is head, heart, and brains, heart, and
head,
will.
heart, and brains, heart, and will. Yep.
Gaius has brains and will, but he doesn't have the heart. Tavi absolutely has all three, and that is the
Yeah.
point. He's not making it about Tavi, but that is the point.
I
you
really
read into
do regret that Tavi and Antilus didn't get a chance to interact more.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think
I mean,
they ever interacted even once on screen.
no, they haven't.
To be fair, they were on opposite ends of the map for most of it. Yes.
True.
So just to wrap up, the last hilarious bit I want to mention is that when Asana comes in to try and tell Tavi about his lineage,
Oh, that scene is so good.
Tavi assumes that it is about that she is talking about the rumors that he's having orgies with the Marat women.
Which, like, I'm sure Kitai would not be opposed to.
No, and that's the thing. She wasn't. She wouldn't. Absolutely not.
Because, like,
She absolutely is Polly. She's Polly for sure.
Yeah.
she's at least bi.
Hmm.
You
Oh,
can get by
oh
a
gosh.
Polly.
Sorry, I've just remembered another hilarious moment that I absolutely love. So we talked about Arnos' Singulares attacking Deimos' ship, which the group is using to get to Alera Imperia and back. At one, they're using the archer to fire arrows, and at one point, Aaron is in a cabin, pokes that out and go, "What's going on?" Arrow just lands literally like an inch away from his face. It goes, "Ah," and closes the door.
Just like, yeah, okay, we can talk later. Just take care of this real quick, right?
Oh god.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say before we got onto that, is that Cave's inner circle is entirely almost identical to
biases.
Sextus's inner circle. He has the shifty, shady, and incredibly competent, hyper competent, in fact, Fidelius equivalent in
Aaron.
And he has what basically Gaius implies Ceres was him in Max, right? Because it is heavily implied that Ceres was very much is very much the retired shonen anime protagonist.
No, he's the retired shonen anime. Like, he's the retired shonen Lancer.
Yes, that is exactly what he is. And so it's like, and also, he loves his wife, which Gaius also did until she died.
Like, what if Vegeta retired and got old?
So yeah.
Anyway,
in summation, parallels, Generation Xerox, and also totally not orgies.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on the Paradox Hour.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Yes, sorry, but you know, it's not an internet podcast without some technical difficulties. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.
Night.
Bye-bye.